In my opinion, Paul Mescal is already one of the greatest Irish actors of his generation. And yes, that might sound like a bold statement, especially considering he's only 29 years old. But when you actually sit with his work, when you look at the choices he's made and the performances he's delivered, it becomes very difficult to argue otherwise. In just 5 years, he's gone from being completely unknown to becoming an Oscar-nominated actor and the lead of a major Hollywood blockbuster in 2024. That kind of rise doesn't happen by accident. It happens when talent, taste, and timing collide. And I'll be honest right from the start, I'm a huge fan of Paul Mescal. When I first watched Normal People 3 years ago, I was blown away. Completely. To this day, I still think that when it comes to young adult drama, nothing really comes close to Normal People. Not because it's flashy or quotable, but because of how emotionally exposed it is, how raw it feels, how much it trusts silence over explanation. Paul Mescal doesn't play Connell Waldron. He inhabits him. The hesitation, the restraint, the way emotion sits behind his eyes without ever being spelled out. The chemistry with Daisy Edgar-Jones feels lived in, not written. That kind of performance stays with you. I admire Paul not in a surface-level, hype-driven way, but because of how intentionally he chooses his roles, how deeply he commits to them, and how little interest he seems to have in playing it safe. Before we rewind his career, do me a favor. If you enjoy deep dives like this, comment, and subscribe. We've already covered Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet on this channel, and you'll find those rewinds in the cards above. This is Paul Mescal's evolution, his performances, their reception, the box office, and why his rise genuinely feels earned. Paul Colm Michael Mescal was born in 1996 in Maynooth, Ireland. His mother worked as a police officer, and his father was a schoolteacher who also acted semi-professionally. This wasn't a household built around comfort or indulgence. Discipline and commitment were simply part of daily life. Growing up, Paul was a serious Gaelic football player, serious enough that many believed sport would be his future. But at 16, something unexpected shifted everything. He stepped onto a stage for the first time, playing the Phantom in The Phantom of the Opera at his school. That moment didn't just interest him. It hooked him. Not long after, while still playing football, Paul broke his jaw during a match. He lied to his drama teachers, telling them he'd been mugged, because he knew they wouldn't approve of him risking his face, his body, and his future. Eventually, the choice became unavoidable. Football or acting? He chose acting. Paul was accepted into the Lyre Academy at Trinity College Dublin, one of Ireland's most prestigious drama schools, and graduated in 2017. Almost immediately, he began working professionally. His first major role came on stage, playing J. Gatsby in The Great Gatsby at Dublin's Gate Theatre. This wasn't a small production. It was immersive, physically demanding, and ambitious. Critics noticed him immediately. His presence was described as confident, magnetic, and emotionally grounded. Theater became his foundation. It's where he learned restraint, stillness, how to command attention without forcing it. Then came 2020, and Normal People. I don't say this lightly. Normal People is genuinely one of my favorite television shows of all time. Not because it went viral, not because it became a cultural moment, but because of how honest it is. Paul's portrayal of Connell Waldron is devastating in the quietest way possible. The performance never reaches for sympathy. It simply allows vulnerability to exist. Hesitant, awkward, painfully human. Released during the COVID lockdowns, the series became a global phenomenon. It dominated streaming charts, conversations, and award season. Paul received a Primetime Emmy nomination, won a BAFTA TV award, and became an overnight cultural fixation. But what stayed with me wasn't the hype. It was the emotional truth. Instead of chasing television stardom, Paul pivoted toward film. In The Lost Daughter, 2021, he took a supporting role alongside Olivia Colman in a film that premiered at Venice and received strong critical acclaim. It wasn't about visibility, it was about credibility. Then came God's Creatures, a dark Irish drama that forced audiences to sit with moral ambiguity. The film didn't make much money, but critics praised its performances, particularly Paul's ability to play discomfort without manipulation. Then, in 2022, came Aftersun. This is the performance that changed everything. On paper, Aftersun is a small film, earning under $10 million worldwide. In reality, it's one of the most emotionally powerful films of the decade. Paul's portrayal of Callum is heartbreakingly restrained. Every glance feels loaded. Every silence feels intentional. Critics across the board hailed it as one of the year's best performances. And when the Oscar nominations were announced, Paul Mescal was nominated for Best Actor. At 26, that alone places him in rare territory. In 2023, Paul made one of the most interesting choices of his career with All of Us Strangers. I'll be honest here. I generally don't prefer straight actors playing homosexual characters. Too often, it feels observational, performative, like an imitation rather than an experience. Paul Mescal is the exception. What he does opposite Andrew Scott isn't acted from the outside. It's intimate, tender, deeply respectful. Their chemistry feels lived in, not constructed. The film received widespread critical acclaim, and Paul's performance was repeatedly praised for its emotional authenticity. This is where he won me over completely. That same year, Foe underperformed both critically and commercially, and that matters, because Paul doesn't have a spotless run. He takes risks. Some work, some don't, and that willingness to fail is part of why his career feels honest. He returned to theater with a Streetcar named Desire, delivering a physically raw and emotionally volatile performance as Stanley Kowalski. The production sold out, transferred to the West End, and in 2024, Paul Mescal won the Laurence Olivier Award for Best Actor. That's stage royalty. Then came Gladiator II, a $250 million production, over $460 million at the global box office. Paul Mescal leading a Ridley Scott epic alongside Denzel Washington. The reviews were mixed on the film, but not on Paul. His physicality, presence, and emotional weight were widely praised. This was the moment he crossed into true global stardom. Paul Mescal's career isn't impressive because it's fast. It's impressive because it's intentional. At 29 years old, he's already an Oscar nominee, a BAFTA winner, an Olivier winner, and a blockbuster lead. And yet nothing about his career feels rushed or hollow. He doesn't chase validation. He earns it. If you enjoyed this rewind, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm curious, which version of Paul Mescal do you connect with most? The quiet devastation of normal people, or the transformation into a cinematic leading man? Let me know.